Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wimpy Studio. Today I'm going to be reviewing When Hope Calls, Season 1. This is the new, well, not new, it's not new, but I just watched it recently. Spin-off series for When Calls the Heart. I review this on my YouTube channel if you actually follow up with it. The season has ended for When Calls the Heart, and now I'm sending out a When Hope Calls Season 1 recap, just to all get caught up with Hallmark stuff that I'm going to be reviewing. Also, I think I might review Good Witch. I hear that that's a good show, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, let's get into it. There's so much to talk about. Let's go. When Hope Calls Season 1 recap. Okay, so here's some background info on the series. So this is a spin-off series to When Calls the Heart. I already said that. And the connection between the shows is from both sides. In When Calls the Heart Christmas special, Lily and Grace arrive with the foster kids. And When Hope Calls, Rosemary, Lee, and Nathan all make appearances. So that's kind of like the gist of it. It's just some background info from this series. This is set in the same time zone as When Calls the Heart, around 1910. I don't know exactly when it's set place. All I know is that it's probably around that time period, maybe 1915. I don't know the exact time period. I'll have to look it up later to see if they have it online. Okay, so characters. Lillian, Grace's sister, leader of the orphanage, has feelings for Gabriel. So the two main couples is Lillian and Gabriel and Grace and Chuck. That's the two main ones. There's some other I'll get into later. Grace is Lillian's sister, leader of the orphanage, has feelings for Chuck. Gabriel is the local Mountie in town and has feelings for Lillian. Chuck is Tess's son. Cowboy in town has feelings for Grace. And Tess runs a Stewart ranch. Chuck's son, husband, is deceased. So that's pretty much the gist of the characters. I mean, it kind of follows, kind of Elizabeth. I got a Elizabeth and Jolie vibe, except, it was, the main characters. Well, they're both main characters. I think Lillian's, the first one listed, of course. But it kind of reminded me of that Elizabeth and Jolie connection. And Gabriel would be Jack. Chuck would be Tom. Tess, I don't know who Tess would be. It's pretty much just follows these five characters and more of the two sisters off on their own journeys, and Gabriel and Chuck follow them. And Tess is pretty much just there, I guess is the right way to say it. She just kind of helps out some in different ways than others. Okay. So I have a one sentence summary of each episode. Unfortunately, this kind of cut off a little bit. But I'll read it to you. So, episode 1 is an introduction to the series, introduce characters and more. There was a town fire, which served the mystery for later episodes in the season. So there was a town fire, and this was the mystery for the first episodes 1 through 3, I think. And it kind of reminded me of When Calls the Heart from the Jack and Elizabeth's wedding episode where the church got burned on fire. That's what it reminded me of. And Gabriel went in to save Lillian. Didn't write that down, but I don't know. It was a good introduction to the series. It set up things that will happen later on in the season. So, episode 2, Rosemary and Lee visited, and Maggie was brought in. So we got new characters introduced in the second episode. We got a visit from Rosemary and Lee, and I really like that. I think that even though it was kind of like a filler plot line, it was good to see different characters come in. It truly shows that it's a spinoff, especially because I'll talk about Nathan being in a second. But we got to see Rosemary Lee. I enjoy that storyline a lot. And Maggie is the new town nurse, and she gives me some Kimmy Gibbler vibes, just by the way that she talks, and just by the way she acts. Is kind of some quirky things that she, is how she acts. Overall, I like Rose. I like Mag. I mean, she's okay. We don't know much about her. We don't know much about her backstory. Maybe we'll get more in the second season, but she's just a supporting character, We just don't get much of her. Okay, so that's episode 2. Not much happened in episode 2, and of course it was carrying over things from the first episode into the second episode. Gabriel kept investigating and all that kind of stuff. So, episode 3, Grace got a new job at the hotel. So she has a new job apart from working at the orphanage. She also does it, and then she also gets to talk to Chuck more as they flirt more. Lily and Tess continue to clash. We get to see some sort of a reconciliation, but I don't think that there's ever going to be a true one, because Tess, I mean, she dislikes it or hates Lillian to the farthest remark. So we kind of got to see a little bit of that, not a lot this episode. Episode 3, there wasn't as much that happened in it. Episode 4, Chuck and Grace grow closer than apart. Lily and Gabriel search for evidence to find a young orphan's home. So Chuck and Grace, what started off as like them actually growing closer together and they go on like a picnic date, ended with Tess setting Chuck up on like a date with like a different girl and Grace becoming jealous. So it ended like it was kind of like one of those things. They started off really good, better than ever, and then they ended worst ever. You know, so I guess that's the right way to say it. Meanwhile, we get to see some more Lily and Gabriel scenes. This couple take off more. We don't get to see much happen with them because it feels like Grace is more. She actually like flirts with the guys. Lillian, like she kind of flirts, but in a different way, like more serious. Like Grace is more like when she's flirting with you. Lillian, you never know. I mean, she doesn't mean to flirt. I don't think. I don't know. It was just the differences between the sisters. Lillian's one to more brush it off, And Grace, you can see that she has more anxiety. Not to bring anxiety into this, but like you can just kind of see the difference between the sisters and that kind of way of being around guys. Um, Episode 5, an inspector for the orphanage arrives and he threatens to mix Grace's past into the future of the ranch. Sam gets introduced. So, pretty much, it all revolved around the orphanage possibly being closed because of Grace's past. Luckily, it was able to stay open, but he says that if anything else happens, uh, he will shut them down. And I'll actually talk about that once we get to the finale, like talking about that. There's a lot that can be talked about there. Meanwhile, Sam gets introduced. What's actually a minor character became like major throughout the rest of the season. Um, okay, episode 6. A town robbers nearby, and that's what sets it up for now until the end of the season. Nathan appears. We get to see a guest star from him, appearance from him, and we actually get to see him in a couple more episodes later in the season. And then there was also this really filler, unusual plotline that gold was discovered that wasn't really brought up. That it was just kind of random. I think it was just because for there to be a plot line in this episode, like a supporting plot line. Because this episode I thought was like it was very focused on the town robber, and that was pretty much it. So yeah, that happened. Okay, episode 7. Grace's birthday. So it revolves around Grace's birthday, and she's one of those. She kind of reminds me of Jughead from Riverdale. They treat a birthday like any other day because of their experience of bad birthdays from the past, and so she's nervous. It all ends up going well, and she even kisses Chuck on the cheek. That's like more of a flirtation gesture, but and then we'll talk about more later on. But so Fred does visit the ranch, and Tess gets annoyed at him when he accidentally lets the horses out. But then Fred's he's just a little kid, he doesn't know any better. But then Tess says this line to Chuck saying, I kind of miss having a boy around in the ranch because you're all grown up now. And I thought that was a sweet line because it does show like that connection between Chuck and Tess is starting to become lost a little bit. I mean, of course, it's still there, mother son, but it's just kind of gone a bit. Meanwhile, they introduce this like Lillian feels caught between Gabriel and Sam. They introduce this little weird love triangle plot line because Lillian feels things for Gabriel, but not really for Sam. That's just more of like a friendship kind of thing. So overall, that's a good episode. So continuing on, I have episodes 8 through 10 on here, and these episodes were really packed. So episode 8, Grace's New York friend arrives in town, and she is persuading her to come to New York with her to come to New York with her. And at first, she kind of considers it, but then Chuck actually is the one who comes up saying that he doesn't want her to go, and she wasn't planning on going anyways because she enjoys being in the orphanage. And I don't know. I think I want Grace to stay along, especially she ends up leaving. I'll talk about that in a second. Meanwhile, Lily and Grace try to help Helen find her grandfather. So we get to see them finally find this foster home's grandfather. But there's this whole a lawyer comes and kind of like threat. It says like she couldn't remember too much about her past, so she's not able to come. Which I thought that wasn't very That was not a good thing to do, especially to a girl who really wanted to see her grandfather. Just saying. Um, and Ronnie gets in trouble about the hotel expenses. So Gabriel starts searching into this case, and he starts with like Ronnie because Ronnie got the funds from the hotel from Nick St. Clair, and now like there was like someone coming back for revenge, but like luckily Tess is like brave enough to be able to drive him away because it's nice to have someone like Tess, who's willing to stand up for anything. Nice to have a sister-in-law like that. um. So that's pretty much episode 8. A lot happened in episode 8, I gotta say. Episode 9, a reporter arrives in town to create a story about Matthew Stewart's death. Lillian tries to keep her father out of it, and Chuck and Grace's relationship reaches a breaking point. So it's all about Matthew Stewart. We get to find out more details about his thing, and I was waiting for that kind of all season. We get to see how Tess was dealing with it. We didn't actually get a confrontation between Tess and Lillian, but we kind of got that earlier in the season. So it was focused on that, and Lillian trying to keep her father out of it because you don't want you're trying to defend your father as much as you can. Chuck and Grace's relationship reaches a breaking point after Chuck gets into an argument with his like cattle person about not treating a calf right, and then so Grace kind of goes out on him for not minding his own business, and then they have a fight, and that kind of leaves things going for the finale. Overall, that was like a really packed episode, really intense, a lot of things going on. Let's talk about the finale. So Grace prepares to transport Helen to her grandfather, and Chuck and Grace. So Chuck finds out, he runs back, and him and Grace kiss. We get that final kiss. And I enjoyed that. I'll talk about that in my like little like ending thing. Lillian ends up choosing neither guy. She decides to end anything for now with a guy. With Sam and Gabriel. St. Clair arrives in town, and he ends up getting trying to cause trouble, but Nathan and Gabriel take him out. And Tess finds out some unknown things about Grace, and that's a cliffhanger going into the season 2. I'm assuming because this could threaten to ruin the orphanage because Tess could be doing a deal with like that guy from episode 5. So who knows? There's like so many unknowns about this shows. So yeah. Season awards. So favorite moment has to go to the kiss between Chuck and Grace. That was so sweet. Honestly, it was really sweet. Favorite episodes. I meant to like put a dash between there, so it's really episodes 8 through 10 with 9 included. But I like 10 the best because it wrapped things up and it's leading for more. Favorite characters: Lillian, Grace, Gabriel, and Chuck. Pretty much just the main characters overall. Favorite relationship: Grace and Chuck, Lillian and Gabriel. The main relationships. Overall, great. I give it a B plus. That's my season awards. Overall, a very, very, very good season. Okay, so possible season 2. It's a great series. It's not as good as When Calls the Heart, but it has a potential and an opening for more. I feel like season 2 won't come out until spring next year, unfortunately, but who knows. Possible chance, 75%. So, what I'm trying to say is that When Calls the Heart and When Hope Calls will probably come out at the same time with 8th and 2nd seasons, respectively. Next spring, maybe either in February or April. They haven't yet to renew it for a 2nd season yet, like they did with When Calls the Heart. I was hoping that they would actually renew it the same night as When Calls the Heart was renewed, but you can't get everything that you wish for in life, can't you? Okay, so we are done with this presentation. So, comment below if you've watched When Hope Calls, what your thoughts are about it. I honestly think it's a really good show. Again, not as good as When Calls the Heart, but you know what? Spin-off series typically aren't as good, I gotta say. So, I want to thank everyone for watching Wimpy Studio. Stay tuned for more videos to come. I appreciate all the support. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on your post notifications so you never miss an upload. Thanks, guys, for watching, and bye.